Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today for part 2 of our Kuder Career Interest Inventory. Today, Ms. Lane is going to walk you through how to interpret your results. Hola, bienvenidos a todos. Gracias por estar aquí con nosotros para revisar el evento Kuder parte 2. Hoy vamos a repasar cómo se puede interpretar tus resultados para informar tus selecciones para carrera. Aquí está Ms. Lane para ayudarnos. Okay, I'll pass it to you.
Okay, great. Good morning, students. It's great to be back with you again to explore our results from the career inventory you took the other day. I think you'll enjoy this. We're going to look at the careers that were suggested for you based on how you answered the questions about your interests. And then we will also look at colleges and what the pathways are to achieve certain careers. So if you remember, we are going to go back to that same website. So in Chrome, remember to be in Chrome, please, not Internet Explorer. You can type in planningyourdreams.org. Planning has 2 N's. Make sure you write dreams with an S, planningyourdreams.org. And when you go there, it's going to change to tn.kuder.com. You could put that in too. And it will look like this again. So I'll give everybody a minute to get there.
Y cuando está empezando, si necesita el programa en español, se puede cambiar el idioma aquí a español y todo va a explicar en español en la página. También este video va a estar en YouTube después de la presentación y puede usar estos subtítulos, esta opción para ver todo en español también. Entonces, si necesita ayuda, espera para el video en YouTube en español. Gracias.
Thank you. Fantastic. I almost forgot about that, so I'm glad you remembered. Okay, so I'll give everybody a chance to switch to the Spanish if you like, and hopefully everyone's on this page. What we're going to do is log back into our accounts that we established the other day. So if you go over here to log in, we are going to go to Kuder login, the second one there. We can't log in with Clever, we have to go this way. So go to Kuder login. And we are going to enter the same username and password that you established the other day. And hopefully that should be, if you used the same one that you used to log into your school computer, it should be the same. So once you type that in, click Login, and it is going to take you back to your specific page. It will look like this. And if you remember, we only did, well, I've done these, but you've only done the career interest assessment. So it would say start over. These would say begin, but it doesn't matter. So we've taken the career interest assessment that asks you questions about the things you're interested in. If at some point you want to go back and take these other 2 assessments, you are welcome to do so. This one is about the skills that you think that you have, the things that you think you might be good at doing. And this one is about work values. So that means, like, what do you think you're going to value in the work world as an adult? Things like, do you want to have a lot of prestige in the community? Do you want to earn a lot of money? Do you want to help people? Do you want to have flexibility in your job? Things like that. So at some point, if you want to go back and take those assessments, you're welcome to do so. But today we are going to look at the results of the assessment we took the other day. So if you will go over to this tab over here and click Explore Occupations. And then we're going to go to that first one, Occupations Suggested by Assessment Results. I do want to say, if you want to play around with this and just start pushing buttons, it's a system that it will tell you if you're leaving the system. So it would give you a bye if you were going to another website. So later on, if you want, after we explore this the way we're exploring it, you could play around because there's all sorts of information in this system. But for now, explore occupations, drag down to that first one, occupations suggested by assessment results. And it is going to pull up all the specific jobs that were suggested for you. Now, because you haven't taken the skills and values assessments, you will only have check marks in the interest tab here, column. If you go back and take the skills and values assessments, then you'll start to see which careers matched your skills and values. Anytime you see a sun, whenever you're doing any kind of career research, and this is not just within this system, this is all across the board, that means that job has a bright future. It's called a bright outlook job. And that means that by the time you go to college or technical school or whatever you have to do to get certified for that job, there will be a lot of jobs available in that occupation. So that's a really good thing. That means that you'll be able to find a job when you graduate high school or college. So always look for those bright outlooks. So you can look at these and see what your list looks like. I've got 3 pages. And then let's just choose one that you want to explore. I'm going to explore this first one, social and human service assistance. So you can pull up your own. When you click it, it's going to tell me everything about this job. Most of them will have a video like this that you can watch. Some of them don't, but most of them do. And you can watch that video and it will tell you more about the job. It's going to give me an overview of what this job does. Some quick facts. I can do this job with just a high school diploma. That's great. And I could make anywhere from a little over 23,000 to 54,000 a year. So as you probably know, annual means yearly. Salary is what you earn for money. So most jobs are considered an annual salary, or you could also look at jobs as hourly pay, but it all turns out to the same amount of money in the end. So like beginners at this job would maybe start at around this, and when you've been working for a long time and you have experience, you might get up to that level of pay. So you can see the national outlook. That means how many jobs will be there within the next 10 years, well, 8 years now, is almost a 17% increase. So that's a good thing. This is a growing field. So if you wanted to do this, you would know that jobs would be available. You can come up here and there's going to be a lot to explore. So like I said, you can go back and do this on your own, but I'm just going to go through each one of these and show you what's available. So tasks and conditions. This is going to tell me more about what I would be doing. These are the type of services that I would work in, my schedule, my daily tasks. So whatever job you picked is going to have different tasks and conditions. I can click this and it's going to tell me which interests this job matches up with. So I really like working with people, so of course I was given a job that talks about communicating and teaching people. You might like working with cars or things, so your job might have something to do more with like mechanics or something like that. It's going to tell me the skills that I would need to have and how it matches up to the workplace values. This is if you take those other tests, you will have a better understanding of that. I'm going to skip this one for a second and go over here to salary and outlook. So this gives me more specific information about how much money I would earn. See, I can do this by, right now it's an annual salary. So the median, that means the average, the middle of the road here. It's likely that I would make about $30,000 at this job. I might start lower, but eventually when I'm in the middle of my career, I would make about $30,000. I could change that to hourly. Sometimes that's easier to comprehend since if you have a job when you're a teenager, you're usually getting paid hourly. You could see it's almost $15 an hour on average. This is a fun little thing you can do if you think you want to move to another state. Let's look at let's look at California. So we could change it to California, and you can see that people make more money in California at this job, $10,000 more, in fact, at the median level. But it's cost a lot more to live in California, the cost of living and taxes and that sort of thing. So sometimes, even though we make less money in Tennessee, it goes a lot further because the cost of living, in fact, we have the second lowest cost of living in the country in the state of Tennessee. Not necessarily Nashville, but the state of Tennessee. So you can play around here and get an idea of how much money you would make at that job. If you are looking at a job and you read about it and you say, I like that, but that's not totally for me, I don't know, you could click related occupations. And these are occupations that are very closely related to this, but might be a better fit for you. So sometimes the system is really close to figuring you out perfectly, but sometimes it's just like 1 or 2 clicks away, and then you go, oh, that feels much more like who I am and what I want to do. So you could go to these related occupations and explore any of these. So back to education and experience. The reason I wanted to do this last is because this takes us on a whole other road. So everything we did just now was specifically about whichever job you chose. When I click on the education and experience, it's going to suggest a college major that if I wanted to do this job, I should pursue this college major. So if you remember, I think we talked about this before, a major is when you go to college, you will declare a major, and that's the main subject that you study. So if you wanted to be a teacher, you would major in education, or you could major in engineering to be an engineer, or major in music to be a musician or a music teacher. You get the idea. There's hundreds of different majors. So if you wanted to, first of all, it's going to tell me a little bit about the training I would need, a high school diploma at least, but some employers want them to have education beyond high school. Depending on your career, it's going to give you different requirements. It's going to tell me what kind of training is available, what kind of qualities I'm going to need. Obviously, I'm going to need compassion if I'm working with people, organizational skills, etc. But when I go up here and I looked at these, so these are different. This one is giving me instructional programs. So those would be more like at a technical school probably. But this is a college major. So I'm going to go ahead and pick one. I'm going to click family, and now I'm going to click this one, public administration and social service professions. So now I can go, I don't know what that major is. Let's see what that's about. And it just gives me a quick overview. But then I want to click on this one, schools offering this major. When I click on that, it shows me all the schools, all the colleges in the state of Tennessee where I could go and study that major. So you see there's a lot, there's 30 of them that offer this major. So I could go to any of these schools, major in that major, and then obtain that career. Now, I'm going to show you this real quick. If I know I'm leaving Tennessee and I know I want to go to I really want to go to Oregon for college. I always wanted to move out west. I'm going to click Oregon, and it's going to show me all of the 20 schools in the state of Oregon where I could go to college. So you can explore all over the country. I'm going to take this back to Tennessee now. So let's say I'm looking at this and, whoops. I'm looking at this and now I'm going to pick a school. Let's pick Middle Tennessee State in Murfreesboro. That's just about 30 minutes from here. And that's a college I could go to, and it doesn't cost a whole lot, and the Hope Scholarship would help pay for that. So I'm going to click Middle Tennessee State. Now I'm in this whole system that tells me all about Middle Tennessee State. Shows me where it is. There are all their important websites if I wanted to explore further. Tells me a little bit about who goes there. There's more females that attend. Etc. It tells me the breakdown of ethnicity of the students there. And then I get to start exploring up here again. So I can click on this one, academics, majors, and programs, and I can see some of the opportunities they offer. I could go all the way through to get a doctor's degree there, a doctorate degree. But this shows me that they've got a big business school. They gave 780 students majored in business and graduated with business last year. A lot of education. So this shows where the graduating students graduated, what subject they graduated in, what major. This is really important, applications and admissions. So when you want to go to college, you will fill out an application and you will submit it to the admissions office. Those are the professionals working at the college who look over your application and decide whether they're going to accept you to the college and admit you to the college. You will need to pay for these applications usually. However, you can request a waiver to where you don't have to pay for that. You'll learn more of this as you get closer to graduating high school. But this is a very important thing to know about the colleges you're interested in. What is their acceptance rate? So if you apply to MTSU, you have a very strong likelihood that you'll get accepted to that school. They accept 94%. So that's more than 9 out of 10 students who apply there get in. So that's great. If we were to look at some other schools that might be a little bit more competitive, say Vanderbilt is going to have a 13% acceptance rate. So some schools are much more competitive. And so when you start looking at colleges, it will be important that you maybe have a mix of schools that you apply to, that you should reach and apply to those more competitive schools, but also have some other schools in the mix so you know you're going to land somewhere at a school. And if you're looking, if right now in 9th grade, if you have your hopes set on one of those more competitive schools like Vanderbilt or Stanford or Harvard or something like that, it's important that you really keep your grades up, that you participate in extracurricular activities and do your best in all the testing and everything like that. So when you apply, you've got a really great competitive application. But there is a pathway to college for everyone. So, and one school is not better than the other. It's all about the fit for you and what you're trying to achieve. So that is the acceptance rate. You may have heard of the ACT, and maybe you've heard of the SAT too. The ACT is the American College Test. Students in the state of Tennessee take this test in 11th grade, in the spring of 11th grade, and then they get a chance to take it again in the fall of their 12th grade year, their senior year. It's a long test. It covers 4 subjects, and you will get a score anywhere from a 1 to a 36. The higher your ACT score, the more colleges that you'll be able to get accepted to, and the more money you will get in the form of scholarships. But that being said too, there is a pathway to college even if you don't have a great ACT score. But you will hear more about the ACT as you go through high school, sorry, as you go through high school, and you will take that in your 11th grade year. But this shows you that the average student, composite means it's kind of the average, it's the composite score of all the subject areas in the ACT. Remember, you get anywhere from a 1 to a 36. Well, at MTSU, they have a range of 20 to 26. So the average student at MTSU got around a 23 on the ACT. So that's just important to know. If we were to look at a school like Vanderbilt again, their average ACT score is more like a 32. So just things to know. As you start looking at schools, it's important to know what it will take to get into that school. So that's your ACT score here. And then finally, how much does it cost? That's another big thing. We do not want you to go to a school where you have to take out $100,000 in student loans and you graduate and you're 22, 23, 24, and you have to start paying back those loans every single month. And you're trying to start your young adult life and you've got that to deal with. So it will be really important to try to find a college where you can get some of that paid for. And luckily, the state of Tennessee has some really affordable colleges and scholarship programs for you that you'll learn more about as you go through school. But you can see that at MTSU, it's going to cost just over $7,000. So that's not terrible. It sounds like a lot of money, but it's not terrible. You will be able to get some help with that at MTSU too. And then, of course, there are other expenses around colleges: books, room and board if you choose to live on campus, because you still have to eat and have an apartment or something like that. That's if you live on campus in a dormitory, which is an apartment building where all the students live, and then you walk to classes. But at MTSU, you don't have to live on campus. You could choose to live somewhere else. You could even live at home and drive there every day. Other expenses, so that could be maybe parking fees, technology fees, all sorts of things like that. So you will, just like in life, have other expenses beyond just how much it costs to pay for college. I'll throw this out there. I know this is a ton of information, but there's something called in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition. So because we live in the state of Tennessee, we get a discount on the colleges in the state, which is called in-state tuition. These are the public colleges, not Vanderbilt or Belmont or Lipscomb. Those are private colleges. But the public colleges like TSU, MTSU, Tennessee Tech, Austin P up in Clarksville, University of Memphis, University of Tennessee, any of those schools in Chattanooga, Knoxville, Martin, you will receive in-state tuition. So that is it encourages you to stay in the state and go to college here. If, though, someone wanted to move from, say, Arkansas and come to the state of Tennessee to go to MTSU, they would have to pay what's called out-of-state tuition, which you can see here is more than triple the amount. So if you wanted to go to college, like we talked about out in Oregon, unfortunately, you would have to pay that out-of-state tuition for the state of Oregon. And so it can be expensive to go to a college out of state. But the more you can try to keep your grades up and be competitive academically, or develop a talent like a musical instrument or dancing or acting, or have be a really great athlete in a certain sport, you may get scholarships to colleges out of state. So that is cost and financial aid. And I think that's about all to cover. And then there's additional information on the school. You can look up campus crime statistics. That's kind of interesting to see that when you look at schools, if you're going to feel safe there and that sort of thing. They offer study abroad programs at MTSU. So you could go study in another country for a semester, and that can be really interesting and fun. So if you remember, what we did there is we looked up that major, we looked at schools that offer that major, and then we clicked on the schools. So you can go back and click on different schools and find out all of this information. I want to show you one other thing. As you're going through and exploring, if you see a career or a college that you're interested in, you can save it to your favorites. And that way, when you log back in, you can go back down here and go to my favorites and find everything you've saved. So if there's something you want to share with your with an adult or another friend, or go back and find it later, you can find it there. I'm not going to confuse you too much. I just want to show you there's a lot of different things here you can explore. We explored this specific occupations, but you could also look up an occupation by going to occupations by title. So let's say you looked at this and you say, I'm not really interested in any of these. I always want it to be an engineer. You can type that in, and then all of the different kinds of engineers will come up and you can explore that way. So you can do it like that. You could look at those national clusters. So these are, remember, I think I mentioned this, the government organizes all of the careers out there into something called career clusters. They're general categories of careers. There's 16 of them. Things like agriculture and natural resources, arts and audiovisual, finance. So they're kind of major categories. So you could click, you can go through and see which one might interest you. I'm interested in government and public administration. What's that? You can click on that and it's going to tell me all about that. And it's going to tell me different pathways, like I could work in the foreign service, or I could work for the IRS and work with taxes, that sort of thing. And then you will go down that. Well, there's not data in this one, but you can go down that way and explore that way too. So like I mentioned, I just want to show you, you're not going to remember all of these different ways to explore, but when you just start clicking around, you'll see a lot of different options for yourself. Let's see where this is. If you are looking to get your first job next year, maybe, you can go on here and view a sample job application, and there's some videos about the interview process. If you ever in a class need to do a resume, there is a resume template, which means you would just type all your information and it would, you type all the information in there and then you click on it and it will format it for you. So there's a lot of different things, a lot of different options for you here. If you ever needed to do a resume or a cover letter, it can walk you through that. Sometimes you have to do that for a class or when you look for a professional job. A resume, if you're not familiar with a resume, is like a one-page summary of who you are, what your education is, what your work experience is. You might list your awards or affiliations, like any clubs you belong to, and that's what you will submit to an employer when you are looking for a professional job, like if you wanted to be a teacher or an engineer or whatever you'll be. If you are applying at a place like Kroger or McDonald's or something like that, in that situation, you usually fill out a job application, which is different than a resume. But you'll learn all about this as you go through high school and in various classes. Is there anything you want to add on any of this, Ms. Baker?
No.
Anything else you want me to cover?
I think you've covered it all. As Ms. Lane said, this has been a lot of information. So you can go back and watch this video and different parts of it as you go through high school. You can ask me or your other school counselors to help you with this process, or think about what you might do as you can take this test again and go back in and look and be like, have my career interests changed over time? Maybe I'm in a pathway and I want to try something new. So you can kind of use this as an exploration tool to look at your different options and what may interest you and to help you in your college selection process. But don't be overwhelmed. This is all the information that will help you over the next 4 years. You don't have to do it all right now. But you can always come back to this video and watch about different parts of it. And you can talk with me and your other school counselors and your teachers as you go through this process and get closer to graduation, so we can make sure you're ready for that next step after high school to see what kind of training or education or job feels like the best fit for you. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to Ms. Lane for helping us walk through all of this really awesome information. And we hope you have a happy Friday and a good weekend. Bye everyone.
Thanks everyone. Bye-bye.